Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Winged Dragon of Ra Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile for post-Maze of the Masters. With the newest Yu-Gi-Oh! Booster set, we were given added support for the Winged Dragon of Ra deck, which can make use of the playstyle of the Winged Dragon of Ra mixed in with the Odeon lineup of cards that we got from the booster pack, being able to use the Temple of the Kings to quickly set up our Winged Dragon of Ra playstyle, and then the new additional spell to special summon it after we use it as a resource to summon out some of our bigger boss monsters in the deck, like the new Circuit, which can be searched out with plenty of the other Apophis support lineup of cards. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for our main go-to boss monster, we're running 3 copies of the Winged Dragon of Ra. Couldn't decide on which art style I wanted to use for the deck profile. We have 3 different arts for the Winged Dragon of Ra. Definitely do let me know down below what your favorite Winged Dragon of Ra art is. But for this card, it cannot be special summon. It requires 3 tributes to normal summon. Cannot be normal set. This card's normal summon cannot be negated. And when normal summon other ways, and the effects cannot be activated. When this card is normal summon, you can pay life points so that you only have 100 life points left. This card gains attack and defense equal to the amount of life points paid. You can pay 1,000 life, target a monster on the field, and destroy that target. So just being able to have that life point burn to be able to power up your Winged Dragon of Ra, and then having some other cards that can get around the special summon restriction using our other spells to summon out this card onto the field. For additional versions of the Winged Dragon of Ra, we are also running 2 copies of the Winged Dragon of Ra Sphere Mode. It cannot be special summon, requires 3 tributes from either side of the field to normal summon to that side of the field. Cannot be normal set, then shift control to the card's owner during the end phase of the next turn. It cannot attack. Your opponent cannot target this card for attacks or card effects. And you contribute this card to special summon 1 the Winged Dragon of Ra from your hand or deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. If you do, its attack and defense become 4,000. So you can use Sphere Mode to not only disrupt your opponent's cards, but also just then use it as a resource to get out your Winged Dragon of Ra out onto the field, with the last version of this card being the Winged Dragon of Ra Immortal Phoenix. With this card, it cannot be normal set, must be special summoned by its own effect. If the Winged Dragon of Ra is sent from the field to your graveyard while this card's in your graveyard, special summon this card. Card effects cannot be activated in response to this effect's activation, unaffected by other card effects. You can pay 1,000 life points, send 1 monster on the field of the graveyard, and once per turn during the end phase, send this card to the graveyard. If you do, special summon 1 Winged Dragon of Ra Sphere Mode from your hand, deck, or graveyard, ignoring its summoning conditions. So you have one big line of different versions of the Winged Dragon of Ra that you go into using all these cards, being able to use Sphere Mode to go into the Winged Dragon of Ra, having the option of when the Winged Dragon of Ra is special summoned, since it'll be sent to the graveyard, to then summon the Immortal Phoenix, and then back into the Sphere Mode again. They all work very, very well together to set up that playstyle. Having a 3 tribute option for the Winged Dragon of Ra, we run 3 copies of Ra's Disciple. When it's summoned, you can special summon up to 2 Ra's Disciple from your hand or deck. It cannot be tributed except for the tribute summon of the Winged Dragon of Ra, and then you cannot special summon monsters except by the effect of Ra's Disciple, giving you the 3 needed monsters to then just tribute out your Winged Dragon of Ra onto the field. So just an easy tribute fodder to be able to do so. For the actual Odeon engine, we're running 3 copies of Anubis, the Last Judge. With this card, cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned from your hand while you have 3 or more cards in your graveyard with different names that are Temple of the Kings and or traps. So having that option, you can use this as that special summon by placing them at the bottom of the deck. But the main play of Anubis, the Last Judge in this deck is to send this card from the hand of the graveyard to add 1, the Man with the Mark, from your deck to your hand. If a spell or trap you control is destroyed by a card effect, you can target 1 card your opponent controls and destroy it. So searching out our next go-to card being the Man with the Mark, which we're also summoning or using 2 copies of this card in the deck. If it's normal or special summon, you can take 1 Temple of the King or 1 spell trap that mentions it from your deck, either add to your hand or send it to the graveyard. You can only use this effect of the Man with the Mark once per turn, and while you control Temple of the Kings, this card and Apophis monsters cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. So also having it that Temple of the Kings can't be destroyed is another big help. With the bigger boss monster we'll summon out being the Merciless Scorpion of Circuit. It cannot be normal summon or set, must be special summon from your hand by banishing 1 level 10 or higher monster from your hand or deck. While you control Temple of the Kings, you can only special summon Merciless Scorpion of Circuit once per turn this way. Having the special summon of this card, also being able to search out this card with the added engine we mentioned before, makes this card a pretty vital part for the play, being able to add Temple of the Kings or a spell that mentions it from your deck to your hand, and then also having this card be the way to banish your Winged Dragon of Ra to then be able to summon it later. We're also, for the rest of the main deck monsters, running 3 copies of Ghost Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood. Hand trap that I prefer in the deck just because of the life point gain, so we have more life points to use to boost up the cost that we can pay to summon out our Winged Dragon of Ra. And for the spells, we're running 3 copies of the True Sun God. When it's activated, add 1 Winged Dragon of Ra, or 1 card that mentions it from your deck to your hand, except for the True Sun God. Monsters except Winged Dragon of Ra cannot attack during the turn they are special summoned. And once per turn, during your main phase, you can send this card from the field, or 1 Winged Dragon of Ra Immortal Phoenix from your deck to the graveyard, then send 1 Winged Dragon of Ra from your monster zone to the graveyard. This sets up the Immortal Phoenix to then be able to summon out onto the field, also restricting your opponent's special summon monsters from being able to attack on the turn they're summoned. So a great lockdown card as well for your opponent that likes to special summon out a lot of different monsters in one turn. The new spell we run is the Dangers of the Divine. Pay half your life points, then tribute 1 monster. Special summon 1, the Winged Dragon of Ra, from your hand or banishment, ignoring its summoning conditions. Also, make its attack and defense 4,000, but it cannot attack. Also, during the end phase of the next turn, return it to the hand. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, choose 1, the Winged Dragon of Ra in your monster zone. Send all other monsters on the field to the graveyard. So this is the big play that kind of was used against Joey with the Odeon setup. Also, just showing that Odeon could not control the Winged Dragon of Ra with this card. But once again, useful for the banish play because with the Beast of Serket, we can banish the Winged Dragon of Ra from our deck, summoning out this card, and then have this card be the search to summon it back onto the field. And also, we're running 2 copies of Millennium Revelation. All these cards are at a lower number because they can be searched off of the True Sun God since they have the Winged Dragon of Ra in their name. You can send 1 Divine Beast monster from your hand to the graveyard to add 1 Monster Reborn from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Then you can send 1 Winged Dragon of Ra from your graveyard with Monster Reborn, ignoring its summoning conditions. Having the option to summon Winged Dragon of Ra with Monster Reborn is a big part of this card as well in the deck. And then also being able to have that option of during the end phase of the turn effect was activated, you must send Winged Dragon of Ra you control that was special summoned with Monster Reborn to the graveyard. But still, being able to just summon out your God card thanks to this card really does help with that deck setup. I also have 1 copy of Ancient Chant in the deck. It's more of a search for Winged Dragon of Ra from your deck or graveyard to your hand, then giving you the additional tribute. The big thing is just coming up with more space in the deck for additional copies of this card. If you want to, you could downsize the number of Dangers of the Divine and also Millennium Revelation for more copies of Ancient Chant, since they are one-ofs that once again can be searched off of the True Sun God. We're also running 3 copies of Treasures of the King. More search power when it's activated, being able to set 1 Apophis Trap from your deck. This card's name becomes Temple of the Kings while in the field zone, and once per turn, if you have 2 or more set cards in your field or trap in your graveyard, you can add 1 monster that mentions Temple of the Kings from your deck to your hand. More search for whether we need the Man with the Mark, Serket, you name it, just good search off of the field spell. With the rest of these spells being our fusion play, Defense of the Temple, to get out our different Serket monsters in the extra deck, along with the Apophis ones as well. The 1 original Temple of the Kings, and the 1 Monster Reborn that we run with the other Winged Dragon of Ra cards in the deck also. For the traps, we run 1 Sun God Unification and the 1 Metal Reflect Slime for the added summon of Egyptian God Slime, and then just the added, if a monster, if you control a monster whose original name is Winged Dragon Ra, you can activate this card at the turn was set. During the main phase, pay life points, so you only have 100 left. Special summon 1 Winged Dragon Ra you control and gain attack and defense equal to the amount of life points paid, even if this card leaves the field. So then having the option, so you only have the 1 special summoned Winged Dragon of Ra, and having being able to gain that life points back thanks to that card. We're also running the Apophis engine for our cards, being the 1 Angel Statue Ajuroon, the 2 copies of Apophis the Swamp Deity, and then the 2 copies of Apophis the Serpent, being able to just have these cards set up with the actual Temple of the Kings, and then the added special summon power, giving us more of a monster resource on top of the other Winged Dragon of Ra monsters we run in the deck, with the last being our counter trap, Verdict of the Abyss, of Anubis, so we can have more of a spell and trap negation on top of everything else in the deck also. And then for the extra deck, for the fusion monsters, 2 copies of Beast of Serket, and the 2 copies of Divine Serpent Apophis, and the 1 copy of Egyptian God Slime for the added 3 tributes, with Egyptian God Slime being able to be used with our Metal Reflect Slime. The fusion plays to go into by just shuffling back our continuous traps or using our Temple of the Defense for summoning out these monsters. For the Xyz monsters, we have a small rank 10 engine along with Zeus, being able to overlay the forms of Ra we have, or just the other level 10 monsters, including our Metal Reflux Slime. And then for the Link monsters, the 1 copy of Silhouette Rabbit, the 1 Lena the Light Charmer, 1 Barricade Board Blocker, 1 Nightmare Phoenix, 1 Pentastag, 1 SP Little Knight, and then the 1 Nightmare Unicorn to finish off the rest of the extra deck. As for some of the go-to plays in the deck, as I mentioned before, having the Odeon set up, being able to use this card to take 1 Temple of the Kings or 1 Spell Trap that mentions it, gives us more and more search for these cards as well, because then we can activate our field spell, Temple of the Kings, using this to set an Apophis Trap from our deck, and then also, if you have 2 more set cards in our Spell and Trap card zone, you can add 1 monster that mentions Temple of the Kings. So if we have the additional Apophis Trap, and then the 1 additional one we mentioned before, we can go for the added search, having those 2 cards, to then search out our go-to monsters as well. If this card can be able to be searched, having that option for it, we can then add the Circuit from our deck to our hand. All this could be searched also starting off by searching the Man with the Mark with the Anubis the Last Judge if needed, but once we have Circuit, we can then go for the Banish of the Winged Dragon of Ra to summon out this card as well, and then being able to have that special summon on the field to add 1 Temple of the Kings or 1 spell that mentions it from our deck to our hand. So either we have that search, we can go for an additional fusion play. If we have more of the Ra set up in our hand, we can activate cards like the True Sun God and then add 1 Ring Dragon of Ra, 1 card that mentions it. So with this card, we can add the new Danger the Divine, having the pay half your life points cost to then summon back the banished Winged Dragon of Ra, being the level 10 monster that we banished off of the cost to summon out the Merciless Scorpion Circuit to do so. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed, and as always, very happy with the new support adds for a take for a different version of the Winged Dragon of Ra lineup that we can use using the Odeon monsters. And until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.